opinions. We'll start off with this one from Richard. Says, Lamela was one of the most gifted footballers of modern Spurs. When he was fully fit, which was about 7 games in 10 years.
Was he the most gifted? You know what? When we first signed him, I thought he was, to be honest. And
A
obviously,
YouTube compilation of him
yeah,
at
his
Roma.
YouTube compilation was incredible, and obviously his Rabonas at Tottenham were fantastic. But unfortunately, actually, you know, at Spurs, he was actually more known for his like grit and his he was more known for his hard work than he was for quality or his left foot. Like like when we signed him, he was known for like that being a player that cuts inside and puts it far corner and has that like great shot. But we actually didn't see it that much at Tottenham, unfortunately, those kind of abilities. So I think I don't know if that's true. I think we've probably had more players, like people like Dele Alli. I think I'll probably say he's got a bit more natural gifts than Lamela.
I agree with you. We have had more technically gifted players than Lamela, but I do think Lamela was underrated in that facet, and I feel like he had a very unique dribbling style, Lamela, didn't he? Which, you know, showed, I think, his technical ability. But I feel like if he wasn't injured so much, we would have seen it a lot more than what we did. I do think he is a technically gifted player, but as the injuries started to creep into his game, the kind of grit and hard work, that's what showed more in his game. And it probably showed after he left Spurs as well, more into his game. But at Roma, and definitely in the early signs of his Spurs career, he was very technically gifted.
Yeah, he's obviously clearly a technically gifted player, but that's just not that wasn't what he was known for really at Tottenham. That's not what he shone for, unfortunately. We never really saw that Lamela.
I loved Lamela, man. I really did love him. It was just such a shame about those injuries. He always gave 100% for the shirt, didn't he?
Of course.
Always.
Yeah.
Next one from Rudy says, Vicario is faultless with his feet. Can't remember one hiccup with the ball at his feet. I mean, he has had a couple of hiccups with the ball at his feet. I don't know. He must have a short memory there. But I do think he's a bit underrated with his feet. And I feel like his passing out the back, a lot of people complain about it at times, but I don't think it's actually that bad.
I think he's good. I think he's like above average. That's like my take on Vicario passing out the back. I think when you're comparing him to some of the best in the league, their ability to play out the back, like Raya, Onana, Ederson, Alisson, I don't think he's as good as those guys, to be honest. I think he's a level below. But when you're comparing him to like most goalkeepers in the league, he's probably a bit better than a lot of them, to be honest. And he's got good passing, especially clips to like fullbacks and stuff like that is decent. Sometimes he can make poor decisions when he's making short passes, but by and large, he's pretty okay with it. And I also think he's getting a lot more. I think in his early Spurs career, we would play the ball back to him and he just looked a bit nervous. I think he's looking a lot more comfortable in those situations now, which is good. But I definitely wouldn't say faultless. I wouldn't say he's faultless.
Far from
faultless. I wouldn't say he's faultless.
Next up from Gallic saying, our attack is nowhere near good as the other big six. Yes, Brennan Johnson is performing now, but once he drops a stinker, he's going to fall off. Odegaard was a waste of money, and we should have signed Bakayoko from PSV instead.
I mean, I don't know if Odegaard's I'd be a bit harsh to say he's a waste of money so far. I mean, he's looked bright, yes.
He's played 2 games.
He's played 2 games. Like, I mean, I don't think he's been like out of this world, but I think he's been pretty good. Like for a 19-year-old coming into Spurs, like he's looked confident. He's looked to take people on. You can see what he's about. Yeah, he obviously had that miss against Newcastle, and he can be a bit frustrating in some aspects, but he's still very new to the team, and obviously he needs to. We've seen it can take time for players to really show their best getting into this team. So
he's 19.
He's 19 as well, so he's only still developing as a player. So I wouldn't say waste of money. Obviously, I agree we should have signed Bakayoko. I mean, that would have been a brilliant signing. We all wanted some of that quality.
But it wasn't Bakayoko instead of Odegaard. It was Bakayoko instead of Timo. That's what we should have done.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly.
We should have brought in Bakayoko and Odegaard.
Yeah, Timo's the one that we should have not brought in, exactly. Our attack is nowhere near as other big six. I mean, a lot of it goes down to timing, but like, obviously, I think Solanke, for me, I'm a big fan of his, and I think he's one. He's hopefully, I mean, what I've seen from him at Tottenham, and obviously what he did at Bournemouth last year, he's up there with some of the best number 9s in the league, because obviously you got Haaland, you got Watkins, you got Isaac. But other than that, I mean, Havertz is in good form as well. But
Solanke has arguably been better than Isaac this season.
Yeah, exactly. So are there many strikers that are much better than him? Like his all-round game as well. Like I think he's probably I think he's probably top 5. You could probably say in the league. Obviously, Brennan's in great form, but whether he can keep up, we'll have to wait and see. But obviously, he gets to go. We know he can get goals. I mean, Sonny is Sonny. He's still a fantastic winger, and he still can get loads of goals with assists. So when you look at that front three, I mean, we're comparing it. Yeah, maybe there are better players in the league. You know, Chelsea have Palmer, and there's Saka, and there's Haaland. And there's definitely better players, but there's no need to look at our players with any disdain and think they're rubbish, because I think we've got some good forward players.
It's not about looking at our players and disdain and saying they're rubbish, but he's comparing them to the big six, the other big six clubs in the league, and I think he's got a good point. When you're looking at the players in the front line and depth that Man City have, obviously, it's much better than ours. Arsenal, again, much better than ours. Chelsea, I think, much better than ours. Liverpool, you've got to probably say better than ours as well. I mean, which clubs in the top six can we say that we've got better forward options than?
Man United, if they're top six. Maybe Villa. I'll probably say I reckon I mean, they got Watkins and Duran, but I think I would still take if we're taking a forward line, a set of including the depth. As much as I like Watkins and Duran, I'm taking ours. In terms of the set of attackers. Yeah, Liverpool, I love their depth. Arsenal, Chelsea, they've got one of the best depths in the league. City is City. Arsenal, I mean, they're also very good. But is it nowhere near is the question?
Right now, no, it's not.
Just because they're worse doesn't mean is it nowhere near?
I mean, as a set of players, yeah, I don't think it is anywhere near. Like those clubs would not touch Timo with a barge pole, and we're bringing him in.
Yeah, but he's our sixth choice in a way.
Well, he's our backup left winger.
Well, when everyone was fit, he was playing Odegaard ahead of him, wasn't he?
I guess, but if you want to look at what we thought at the beginning of the season, we thought it was going to be Odegaard to back up Brennan and Timo to back up Son.
Yeah, but as a set of attackers, yeah, they wouldn't touch Timo, but Son, Solanke, Brennan's developing at the moment. You know, Richarlison can get goals as a backup striker. Backup striker, I think that's a pretty good backup to have if he's fit anyway. Like, as much as it's not as good, like, I don't know. I feel like at the moment you look at it and think, yeah, it's nowhere near. But I actually don't. I think it's closer than people think, in my opinion.
When you're looking at all those clubs that you're talking about,
like in a few months' time, if Solanke's just banging them in and Sonny's back to his best, I don't think people will be looking at it in a different light. You know what I mean?
I think Sonny is probably the only one that gets into any of those teams.
I think Solanke, potentially.
And get in which team? He doesn't get into Man City, that's for sure.
Man City, maybe not. Arsenal.
I don't think he gets into the Arsenal team.
You think Havertz very much like? But that's the thing. Havertz maybe is in better form, and you know you could argue he's a better player. I'm saying, but it's close. I don't think it's that far. I don't think it's like Havertz is definitely better. It's probably close. Liverpool, could he be a number 9 for Liverpool? Why not? They've got they don't really have a proper number 9.
They had him.
Yeah, I know, but he's now a much better player. I think there's no reason why he couldn't be their number 9. Chelsea, they've got Jackson. He's
Diogo
a great player.
Jota. They got Diogo Jota.
Is Jota a better number 9 than Solanke? He might be a better player. Is he a better number 9? I don't think so, in my opinion.
If I'm a Liverpool fan, am I really like being like, I wish I'd have Solanke over Jota? I don't think so.
Not as a player, but as a number 9, I think he's a better number 9. I would rather have Solanke in the number 9 than Jota, in my opinion. As much as I think Jota's a better player. What I'm saying is I reckon he could probably get in the team as a 9 there. You know, is Jackson clearly a better player than Solanke? I don't think so.
Is Jackson a better player than Solanke?
Clearly a better player.
Clearly. Why does it need to be clearly?
Because we're talking about if we're saying nowhere near as good.
Yeah.
So I'm saying,
yeah, but you're picking up one player. We're talking about our attacking options as a collective.
Son's the only one they would touch. I think Solanke, I think they would go for as well.
Solanke they'd bring in as maybe squad rotation at times. But
I think he could be a number 1 striker.
The only one that gets into their team would be Sonny. He's the only one.
I'm saying for a few of them, I think Solanke gets in their team.
Not cut and dry. It's not cut and dry.
But it's close. The whole point of this tweet is people are saying, right, our attack is nowhere near as good. I'm not saying our attack is better or anything. My point is, I think it's closer than people think it is. I think probably on paper right now, it's probably the weakest or one of the weakest set of attackers. But I think people think it's like, because I think this attack that we have is going to get goals. And I think in a few months' time, once we're scoring goals regularly, people will look at it in a different light, in my opinion.
Let's move on. Miss_Chris says it's problematic when players feel no competition for their positions. Dragusin needs to be given substantial minutes. And I think if Dragusin isn't given substantial minutes this season at some point, then he's going to want to leave. I think that's just going to be the reality.
He's going to be playing every Europa League game, so that's already when he's.
Is that enough for him, though?
Off. I mean, obviously, and I think as well when it comes December time,
with an agent like his as well.
First of all, definitely every Europa League. It depends how he plays in Europa League and how our defenders are playing in Premier League. If Romero continues to have these lapses in concentration and he's playing really well in Europa League, then he should be getting minutes. But if Ange continues to ignore him, and if this situation continues, then yeah, he'll have a right to feel frustrated. Also, I think come December time and when it comes January, and there's a lot of Premier League games, game every 2 days or whatever, then I think Dragusin will definitely get some run-outs in the Premier League there as well. Obviously, any injuries to Romero and Van de Ven for a few games, it might happen. They can't play every game. Then Dragusin will get some minutes as well. So. Look, at the end of the day, I think at the end of the day, Romero and Van de Ven are two, in my opinion, better centre-backs. So he's got to either prove to be better than them or bide his time and wait for his opportunity. And that's the reality. That's the role he signed up for. He's not going to be given minutes just because he's here. He's going to have to earn them, and he'll have to do that by playing really well in Europa League.
Mm-hmm. And obviously his 7-minute sending off would have done him no good. And I don't think he hasn't grabbed those opportunities every time he's played this season. Like Coventry, I thought he was poor. The other game in Europa League obviously gets sent off in the first 7 minutes. So
Newcastle played fairly well though.
Yeah.
Even though we lost.
But I just don't think he's been grabbing those opportunities that maybe he did at the back end of last season.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Yeah, which is really a weird thing when people say like he's deserved his opportunity with Dragusin. I'm like, I understand Romero's not been doing great, but is it fair to say that he's deserved it, Dragusin, by what he's shown? I'm not saying like we should never play him again just because of how he's played when because of sending off. That's not my point. My point was, has Dragusin, from what he's showed so far, I've seen him shown that he's deserved the minutes that Romero's getting. I wouldn't necessarily say that.
It's hard for him though, because it's like he gets a bit part role. He comes in for a game here and a game there. Like, how are you supposed to build up any form of consistency? He needs to have a run of games to really see.
That's fair.
Steve says, we have shown no improvement over the last 10 months. I mean, I completely disagree with that. Completely disagree. I think when you're looking at last season and the start to this season, I think you can see a clear signs of progression. Even if you just look at the data and the stats, you're seeing massive signs of progression. So, yeah, maybe we're not showing signs of progression in our results so far, but I think in our general gameplay, how it's evolved from maybe the last 6 months of last season to the start of this season, I do think we are showing signs of progression.
I think so. I think we're having more control of games. I think the problems we're having this season are a bit different to last season in a way. Sometimes not killing teams off, getting ahead and giving up 2-goal leads, which we weren't really doing that last season. I think last season we were struggling to control games. That was our big problem. And the opposition were getting way too much joy, and as much as we played some good football, I think the opposition were having a lot more of the game. Now we're limiting the opposition a lot more. Yes, the opposition is still having chances, but not as many as they were last season, and we're controlling them a bit more. It's still, obviously, we're finding it difficult to completely shut them out totally, which is, we got to figure out. But last season, if you just remember how we were playing, how games went last season, I think a lot of games we struggled to control, and we weren't doing as good a job as we are this season. So I am seeing progression in the team. I'm seeing improvement. I'm seeing a bit more consistency in those performances as well. But, we're still not completely the way there. And that's going to take a little bit more time. But I definitely see progression for sure, in my opinion.
Joshi10 says, if we stop playing the high line, we would be the best defensive side in the league. I mean, we did drop a bit deeper in that second half, and we didn't show the best side of defensive in the league, did we?
I don't think we would be the best defensive side in the league, because I actually think the players that we play, if you ask them to be in a low block and just defend all the time, I don't think that's their forte. I think
Romero can do that.
Yeah, Romero maybe. I think Van de Ven actually wouldn't be as good as that. I think Udogie would probably be good. I don't think Porro would be as good. So I don't agree. I don't think it would be the best side in the league.
But you would say in a low block, Dragusin would be very good as well.
Dragusin would be good. Dragusin and Romero together.
Yeah, exactly. If you're playing a low block, you probably want to play Dragusin and Romero together.
But it's still best side in the league defensively.
Nah.
I don't think so. I think we'd probably maybe concede less goals, but I also think we wouldn't be as good going forward. So
it's a strange one, isn't it, though? Like, because I always look at our back four, back five, with including the goalkeeper, and I look at them in a very positive light in terms of they're all individually such good players. But the system that we play just allows other teams to kind of bypass them maybe a bit too easily at times. Maybe not on a consistent basis, but definitely in moments in games we concede very big chances and very easy chances, and sometimes we're lucky that the teams don't put them away. But what can we change to stop that happening? Surely there's something that we can tweak to stop that happening.
Stop getting caught out.
Yeah,
that's the aim of the game. That's how we play. High risk, high reward. We put a lot of risk to the performance because we want to create as many chances as possible. And the risk is, let's say you create 5 chances and concede 1 chance. The risk is you'll score at least 2 or 3 of those, and maybe either they score that or they miss that chance they do get. That is the thing. I've always said I don't think this is going to stop happening. Like teams getting the odd easy chance. I don't think that's going to stop happening. But the risk is if we keep creating 5 or 6 big chances, right? Will take more than the opposition take, and I think that's the risk versus reward.
You look at the season that the 2 seasons in a row, Liverpool got over 95 points. One of them they won the league. The other time they came second on 97 points or something stupid.
Yeah,
like they played heavy metal football under Jurgen Klopp, non-stop gung ho football, attack, 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 attack. But I think the difference between that Liverpool side and this Tottenham side, I still think like the quality of defenders were very similar. Like right back, they had Trent, we had Porro. Like, yeah, fine, Trent is better going forward than Porro, but both of them have been argued to be fairly poor defensively, which I don't really agree with Porro. They had who was it, Matip and Van Dijk at the back. We have Romero and Van de Ven. Obviously, Van Dijk is one of the best centre-backs in Premier League history. And left-back, they have Robertson. Left-back, we've got Destiny Udogie. And I'm saying Liverpool's is definitely much better quality there in the back line. But I still think like our players are young and they can grow into, maybe not exactly the same quality, but definitely close to, in my opinion. The difference is they had that Fabinho at the number 6 who just gobbled up everything in the middle of the park. Do we have that guy? I know we got Basu and Bentancur, but can they do it like Fabinho did it? I don't think they can. I think that's where the issue is.
Yeah, I mean, remains to be seen. That could be that. You know, we all said in the summer, well, maybe upgrading 6 is in a perfect world. It's a very difficult market at the moment. I think Bentancur is a very good player. We'll have to wait and see whether he's up to the task of being that consistent player in that role. I think we're seeing signs of it, but I don't think he's 100% there yet. But I think
he's never going to be a Fabinho, is he?
Who knows? Why?
Who, Bentancur?
Yeah.
Fabinho was one of the best 6s.
Right, and Bentancur was an unbelievably consistent midfielder before that injury, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I think he can be brilliant on the ball in terms of what he brings us, but I don't think he's ever going to touch the surface of what Fabinho did off the ball.
I don't know. He was a very consistent player for Juventus when he was playing in their 6 for many years when they were challenging for league titles and being very good. Like I'm not sitting here saying Bentancur is better than Fabinho in any way, or even better than Rodri or not. What I'm saying here is, could you have a team challenging with Bentancur on the team? Why not?
I just feel like we need a proper monster in there. I don't think Bentancur's a monster, and I like Bentancur.
He could be.
I like Bentancur. Don't get me wrong. I like him, but I just feel like we need like a worldie in that position if we're going to really challenge for the league title.
Maybe, but I'm saying I think Bentancur before that injury was on his way to doing that, in my opinion. Unfortunately, the injury has really hampered him very badly. Now the question is, will he ever get back to his best? I think if he continues the trajectory he was before the injury, I think he can do it. If he can't get back to his levels, then yeah, we're going to have to look in a different direction, unfortunately. But you talking about Liverpool side, yeah, when they brought in Fabinho, things changed. But before that, it was actually very similar to what we are now for Liverpool. And I think they finished in his first two full seasons. Klopp, they finished like. I think they finished 4th, but very open like we are now. Then they finished 4th again. They got to a Champions League final, but they're having a lot of very similar issues to what we have. until they really got the balance right. And it took a bit of tweaking of a few things. But, Ange's still in that process. We've got to give him that time.
The difference between that Liverpool side and what they did and what Spurs are doing, they went out and bought the best in class in defence, goalkeeper, and central defensive midfielder. We haven't really done that. I mean, you can say that we've done it with maybe Van de Ven. I don't think there's a better sweeping centre-back potentially than him right now. But are we going to go out and get the best in class in CDM, or are we just going to persist with what we got? Is Bentancur ever going to be the best in class?
Was Fabinho the best CDM in Europe when they signed him?
Where they signed him from?
From Monaco.
Alisson
was signed for big money, but he was signed from Roma. I don't think people thought he was the best goalkeeper in Europe when they signed him. But
they backed it with big money because they believed he could be.
Exactly,
and they believed he was.
Right, but we're also backing players, but not obviously as big a money as that. But we're signing these players because we believe in them as well.
I mean, Alisson, when they signed him, wasn't he like the best goalkeeper in Serie A at the time?
Yeah, and people were saying the same about Vicario, one of the best in Serie A.
Yeah, it's different doing it for Roma over a couple of years, and then Vicario did it for Empoli over 1 or 2 years. I mean, it's a bit different. I don't think you could say it's the same. And
I'm not saying it's the same. I'm just saying we signed them with the belief that they could be very good players, be very good.
We signed Vicario because he was a cheaper option to David Raya. That's why we signed him.
Yeah, but we also signed him because we identified him as a goalkeeper.
Look, don't get me wrong. I'm happy with Vicario. I think he's a top keeper, but they went out there. They got the best in class of who they thought was going to be the best in class. We didn't.
Now. Were people saying Alisson at the time is the best keeper in Europe or anything like that?
100%. I think they did. They said that he's got potential to be, for sure.
Potential to be. Exactly.
And he was the best goalkeeper in Serie A.
Yeah, and Vicario was one of the... Well, I think last season, the season we signed him, I was watching a lot of Italian journalists, and they said he was the best keeper for that season in Serie A.
Yeah, but you just can't compare a Vicario to an Alisson.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying Vicario is better than Alisson. I'm just saying what we're saying is how we're approaching things. Liverpool and Tottenham we're comparing, right? I think we're at similar stages to where Klopp was early in his career. To where we are.
But they're just dealing with their business in a different way than we are.
Yeah, but they didn't do it. I'm saying, but we haven't got to that stage yet.
And Van Dijk.
We haven't got to that stage yet.
Van Dijk.
That was Klopp's third season. He got Van Dijk.
Yeah.
And Alisson, and Fabinho. That was all that his third season. We're still earlier on. And what I'm saying is where we are now, where Klopp was in his early stages, is very similar.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Zar says Djed Spence is ready to start in the Premier League. I agree with this. I think he is ready. Every time he comes on, I'm pretty impressed with him, and he should have had minutes in the Brighton game when you saw how Destiny was struggling, and. It's just a shame. It just makes a mockery out of this Europa League squad. Like, why is he not in that squad? It makes no sense.
Yeah, I think he's ready to start. Whether he's better than Porro or Doggy, I don't think so. But if need be, if we need him to start a game, is he ready to start? I agree, he's ready to start. Would I start him now? Would you drop a Doggy for the next game?
Would I drop a Doggy for the next game? No, but I wouldn't have a problem with starting Spence over a Doggy. If I was going to pick the team, I'd pick a Doggy. But if Spence is playing, I'm not going into that game worried.
Yeah, so that's my point. Like, he's ready to start. Would I start him? No. But is he ready to start? Yes.
Yeah.